Hi, I'm Mitchell Dale and this is Rugby League Week's Friday Arvo Footy. Joined on the couch today by Martin Lenihan, Brian Smith. Thank you for joining us, fellas.
Pleasure.
Now, tonight, one game, Rabbitohs, Tigers. In round 3, these two sides just went hammer and tongs. Probably one of the fieriest games so far of the season.
Yeah, it was a beauty, wasn't it? I think the Rabbitohs got ambushed, didn't they? They got beaten. They were very slow to start the year. They're obviously in a lot better form now, but yeah, I think the Tigers would have taken a lot of confidence out of it.
Yeah, they did get ambushed there, and they had a couple of big games before that against Roosters. They had a big win, and then a torrid encounter with Manly, away to Manly. So I reckon they'll be better prepared this time, but I still fancy the Tigers might get them again.
Yeah, no, we spoke to the Rabbitohs who went out to training this week. Spoke to George Burgess and John Sutton. George says that they gained a lot of momentum last week with that really gutsy performance over the Warriors. John Sutton talks about how they're going to carry that on in the next few weeks.
You know, just playing like we did on the weekend, completing our sets and, you know, defending strongly. I thought, you know, that was, you know, in the second half I think we had the 100% completion rate, so that was the first for us for a long time. So, you know, hopefully we can, you know, do that this week.
The boys, you know, showed some real character to come through and get the win there, because you know we're down a few troops at some stage in that game, and you know it's we could have, you know, just let it go and, you know, give the game away, but we didn't. We stuck at it, and you know it shows a bit of resilience in our team, I think.
Yeah, interesting stuff there from those boys. Brian, where do you think it will be won and lost? Will the Rabbitohs try and go through the middle of the Tigers?
Well, they do pretty much every week, and I'm sure they'll, pardon me, they'll still be burning from that loss in round 3. I think the kicking game will be a really important part. Last time the Tigers scored 2 or 3 tries off kicks, and with Inglis not there, maybe Merritt, a bit dodgy on the high balls, and Brooks and Tedesco have got beautiful combinations going on some little short kicks, so I reckon that could be a key for the Tigers.
Yep.
Yeah, Brooks and Reynolds, I think, a mouth-watering clash, isn't it? Like 2 of the best young halfbacks in the game. Brooks has come on really well this year. That will be a key. I think the kicking, as you said, without Inglis at the back there, they do lose a lot of impetus. For me, though, I reckon South, they've really started to get a bit of momentum. I mean, obviously Inglis is a huge out for them, but loved their game in Perth last week. I think as they spoke about just what they got out of that, coming from behind, a lot of guys had to go off the field injured, a lot of courage. That gives you a big lift, doesn't it?
Look, I thought the best player on the field last weekend for them was Dylan Walker. Now, he's out for 6 weeks with a broken thumb. On top of the blokes they're missing for Origin, I think that's a big blow to them. It
is, yeah. Walker's that was an electric performance. I reckon it was, as a team performance, it would be a big buzz for the Rabbits. You know, all the things they had to handle in that game, and coming from behind. And the Warriors were in good form. They were playing some really good footy. I thought it was just a fantastic game. A great advert for our game in Western Australia as well.
So to put your coaching hat on for a second, how do you keep a side up? Obviously very physically and emotionally draining that game in Perth. How do you keep the side up for another week?
Yeah, I think when your team's flying like that, and Martin explained it well, I think, the way South's played, you know, I think the buzz is already there. They're not going to worry so much. Greg Inglis has not been there before. You know, I just think that and the vengeance they'll want from the embarrassment, because there was plenty of talk in that game in round 3, and I think, you know, there'll be, those Burgess brothers have been like scary as for most of the season. They might go to another level again this weekend.
Yep. Okay, quick tip, guys. Leno?
Yeah, look, South for me by about 12, I reckon.
Okay, Brian?
I still think it'll be close. Could be a high-scoring game, and maybe the Tigers.
Yeah, I'm going to go for the Tigers just to squeeze home tonight. Okay, boys, tomorrow, Penrith and the Dragons. It's an interesting situation where you have first versus 13th. First has no players out to Origin, and 13th has 2. So the Dragons obviously have lost Josh Dugan, Trent Merrin. I think what it does show is just what a good run Penrith are getting through the Origin period.
They sure have. It's the unfairness of our comp, really. There's always some unfairness around Origin time because of those sort of selections. It's amazing how a team, and great credit to Penrith, they've gotten the top of the comp at this point in the season, and haven't got a rep player in either team.
Yeah, that's right. And you would think they're going to maintain that position. You would think they should coast through the next month without dropping too many games.
Yeah, look, as you said, it's amazing to see the Dragons with 2 guys out, and particularly Dugan starting to hit that sort of form that he did with 3 tries, and Trent Merrin, we've spoken about a fair bit. They're light on the Dragons in the forwards, and he's one of the guys that makes a lot of metres and takes it up the guts for them. So, geez, it's hard to see him getting across the top of Penrith this weekend.
No, certainly not. I think the other thing for Penrith is you see a lot of those sides with a big high origin representation. They come out of that period a little bit fatigued. Penrith are just going to be coasting along.
Yeah, and you know, with the buys around this time as well, it gives everybody in the whole place a chance to refresh and have another burst and have a refresh again without anybody going away to, you know, be a distraction or come back tired. So they're in a great spot. You know, there's on the counter side to that, they've had 5 games against bottom 4 teams so far, and they've got a few more yet to come. In fact, they're playing those bottom 4 teams at home and away, all 4 of them. That's 8 shots, you know, where other teams only get to play them, I think the Bulldogs only play them either at home or away. They've got 4 games in the season against the bottom 4 clubs. So, you know, lucky Penrith, I guess.
Cards are falling their way. It is a lovely draw that they've got. On the other hand, the Dragons, you had a look at them in the magazine, Rugby League Week, this week, and where they're at, what problems that they might have. How do you see them digging themselves out of this hole? I think everybody can see that the win last weekend over the Sharks was really just a band-aid over an axe wound. It's not going to... That's not a true reflection of where they're up to.
Yeah, I think they'd be foolish if they thought everything was going to come back to, you know, apple pie order. It just that Sharks' performance was really substandard, and you got a feel for them. They had 13 first graders out. These two clubs are sort of at diametrically opposed ends of the footy spectrum at the moment. Penrith are a well-organised club with a vision about where they're going. They're sort of 3 years into that. They picked a coach that suited the performance style that Phil Gould and I guess the board of Penrith wanted. They've recruited the way they wanted. They're developing young players from their bountiful junior league. You know, everything's on track for them. And at the other end, you got the Dragons, who won the comp in 2010, managed, you know, not so bad in 2011. I think made the playoffs, but went out the back door straight away. And since then, they just look like a team or like a club really, that doesn't have a plan about what was going to happen after Wayne left the building. You know, they've got a lot of work to do, and I think they've got a lot more heartache to go through before they sort of get back around to where Penrith are now.
Yeah, that's right. Penrith are probably going into that rebuilding phase, or they're halfway through it, whereas the Dragons are pretty much at the bottom of the mountain, aren't they?
That's how it appears from the outside. You know, it's hard to tell whether sometimes there's a plan there, but you know, there are a lot of things that can happen in a footy club that cause you to retract or have to, you know, digress and come back at it from another angle. But right now their forward pack is so lightweight in a league now that's just full of powerful men, and they just don't have enough of them. They hardly have any of them at all, and it's hard to find them anywhere as well. You can't just pick young blockbusting under 20s forwards to come and compete within a year or so. It takes time, you know, and you've got to get some in there right now. Penrith have managed to do that. Somehow they've managed. They've hardly got a junior in their top grade at the moment, but they've got them coming, and you can see it, and everybody out there knows that it's going to happen. So they're in a really healthy spot.
Okay, to turn it back to Saturday night quickly, Leno, what do you think?
Oh, for all the reasons Brian's expressed, I think the Dragons are light on in the forwards, missing the one guy there, Dugan, who can really explode for them. Very easy win for Penrith, I think.
Yeah, I'm a bit more reluctant to go big scores, but I think it'd be a surprise if the Dragons, they'll get some confidence out of last weekend's win. A 30-0 scoreline always gets people buzzing, but pretty hard to tip against Penrith, I think.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think you mentioned the confidence. Benji Marshall will have got a bit of confidence out of his performance, but the real acid test is this weekend. I really think it's only going to be a Penrith win as well. Okay, news this week broken on rugbyleagueweek.com was Danny Wicks. Obviously, he's had a few problems. He's been to jail. He's served his time. He's also been cleared by the NRL to resume his playing career. As broken on the Rugby League Week website this week, Parramatta have emerged as the front runners for his signature. Brian, you coached him at Newcastle for a couple of years. Rugby League's famous for giving second chances. Is this a guy that deserves another go?
Yeah, I think so. He's paid a price for the crimes that he committed, and as far as the league is concerned, the NRL have cleared him to resume playing at post this season. I think is the case. If it were me, I'd certainly want to talk to him and be sure that everything's cleared and he's in good physical order. He is a physical specimen when he's at his best, and he'll make a hell of a difference to any team that he joins. He's one of the most imposing players in terms of power. Not so great on the work rate, but I believe he is in really good condition, in great health, and he's as keen as mustard to get going again, I believe.
Yeah,
he scored a famous try, didn't he? For was it at Gosford for the Knights, about 50 metres out. He's a good athlete. Look, it was interesting. The Dragons were in the race, and we've spoken about how much they could use some size, but it looks like he's going to Parramatta. They're putting together a fantastic forward pack there. A lot of young guys coming through. As you said, famous for second chances. Let's see how the guy goes. I think it's a good point that you'd want to see where his headspace is at, but I think for a guy like Danny, it'd be great to get back on the field and be able to contribute something to a club.
Yeah, certainly an interesting topic, but it does look like Danny Wicks will be back in the NRL next year. Okay, the Encouragement Award. No Eric this week. Leno, it's back over to you to be encouraging.
Thank you, Mitch. Yes, nice to have the boot back in my possession again. And a man who's had this before from the Guru a couple of weeks ago, the great Shane Hayne. Now, don't really want to give it to the same person twice, but this is an encouragement award, Mitch. We're going to say to Shane, please do well, my friend. You had a shocker in the first game. Everyone knows it. We wrote a piece on our website that went absolutely nuts talking about some of those decisions. You've been given a second chance. Make the most of it, Shane. So we're encouraging you. We're all behind you, mate. Enjoy the game and please do well.
There we go, an encouraging encouragement award. That's it for this week. Thank you, Martin. Thanks very much, Brian. Thanks for watching. We'll be back next week.